Hello, my name is Stevie Snow. I'm a holistic pharmacist and my company is Rimby Health. Rimby stands for right in my backyard. That's where I believe healing begins. Outside in the sunshine, playing with your dog, playing with your kids, doing some gardening, getting the sun on your skin. Quite literally is where healing begins. But Rimby also means that healing begins within each and every one of us. The human body is a miracle of healing potential. And we just have to do two things to heal the body. One, find out what it has that it doesn't need: an infection, toxins, inflammation, oxidative stress, and get rid of that. And then two, find out what the body doesn't have but it needs: micronutrients, sunlight, things like this, enough sleep, quality food, good relationships. So we give the body what it needs and health happens. All right. And so today is Ash Wednesday. It's Wednesday. It's February 13th, 2024. And what I'm giving up for Lent is hiding my genius. I want to stop having all this knowledge within inside of me and not being able to share it with people. And so I'm just going to do it instead of hiding behind my fear of being found out to be an imposter or all those other things that come up when I think about showing my genius, letting all that go. And I'm going to start a podcast a day or a video a day for the next 40 days of Lent, and helping you to get rid of something that's standing in your way of healing. And I am a true believer in the mind-body connection. So what we're going to be getting rid of is negative thoughts, mindset that is keeping your body from healing. And you might think, well, as a holistic pharmacist, why don't you just use herbs and supplements and lifestyle? And well, technically mindset is part of lifestyle. Also, there's only so much we could do with the body. The mind has to be on board, that it is capable of healing, that healing is possible for you. And if we don't have that on board, then the healing process either is super slow or it doesn't happen at all. And so I have seen this firsthand. A friend of mine, he's given me permission to talk about his stuff. He went to a week-long retreat, a Joe Dispenza week-long retreat. I'm going in 10 days, by the way, so I'm expecting a miraculous change in my attitude. But he had psoriasis on his forehead for about 9 months before he went to this retreat. And during the retreat, on day 2 or 3, he felt during the meditation a burning sensation in his forehead. And by the end of the week, the psoriasis was gone. And he had a miraculous healing, something that I could have helped him with. I would have started healing his gut, and that's a very slow process. And it could have taken a year to heal that psoriasis by healing his gut, because it isn't a skin issue either. So healing the skin was not going to work. And that's why conventional medicine techniques for healing psoriasis don't work. It's because we're looking at the wrong thing. And even functional medicine things don't work because we're not dealing with the mindset around the healing process. Now, what didn't heal in that 1 week for him was his high blood sugar and his high cholesterol. So he either needs to keep at this for a lot longer or go ahead and do the things that I'm recommending to him to do to lower his blood sugar and lower his cholesterol. So the mind-body connection is tremendous, and I say that healing can't happen without the mind on board, and it can happen so much faster that you don't even have to do anything if you get the mind on board well enough. Okay, so what are we going to give up today? What I'd love for you to give up is shame. Shame is a negative emotion that causes cortisol to be released in the body, and it's a stress reaction to shame that we have. And the number one reason people go to the doctor is because of stress-related issues. And so if you want to get healthy and stay healthy, we got to find ways to reduce chronic stress in the body. And one way to do it is to release shame. Day 1 of 40 is releasing shame. Okay. So I could say that I have a little shame right now. Like I would generally not be on camera showing you my less than desirable arms. They're not as muscular as they should be for optimal health. And I have belly fat that I'm not going to show on camera that I can feel shame about, but I know how it got there. I was sick in December. I had COVID and I was down for 3 straight weeks. It knocked me out of my routine, and I don't take care of myself when I'm sick. So I was really not taking care of myself, and now I'm paying the price. And so instead of feeling shame about my belly fat or my lack of muscle, I can say that's what happened. That was in the past. I didn't have a lot of control over that. And now I'm going to take action. And so, but I have to let go of the shame. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. How do you let go of shame? But let's talk more about actual shame from regret, things that happened in the past, decisions we made that didn't go well. I have lots of those. I can think about them. And if I think about them too hard, I actually feel it inside of my body. I feel so bad about what I did, and I'm ashamed of what I did 10 and 20 years ago. Or, even last week, there's something I did that I'm like, oh. But I have to let go of that shame. And when I do, then it helps healing, because when we go through an emotion, whether it happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, yesterday, or just now, the body, the subconscious mind, when it recalls an event that we're ashamed of, sends out the cortisol as if it's happening right now in real time. You're having a response to this thought, and it's causing disease in the body. And so we have to remember the things that we did in the past, but not feel the shame. So we want to remember that we did things that weren't the best outcome. It wasn't what we wanted. And if we could do it again, we'd do it differently. We can remember that so that we can try to do better in the future. But we don't have to be perfect. And we have to just let go of the shame so that we're not hurting ourselves in the present moment over something that we can't change. It's already happened. There's nothing we can do about it. Okay, so let's talk about how do you let go of shame. Well, for me, it's a very difficult concept to turn my whatever over to God. I've never been good at that. It always felt like taking the easy way out. It felt like giving up. It felt like quitting. I didn't have, and I don't have, that relationship with God where I can just hand things over and poof, it's gone. And if you do, that's fantastic. I say hand shame over to God and let it go. Now, if that's a problem for you, and it is for me, instead I can hand it over to somebody else. Like, I can imagine that I had ideal parents that took stuff off of my plate when it was too much for me to handle for whatever stage of life I was in, instead of putting things on my plate that really weren't appropriate for a child to have on their plate, like worry and things like that. So I can imagine that I had parents that were able to take that off, or I can remember somebody in my immediate past who made me feel better about everything that I told them with. And I know that I can go to them with any problem that I have, and they're going to make me feel better. They're going to tell me, Stevie, you know what, that happened and we can't change it. And so don't feel so bad about it. It wasn't that terrible. Nobody died. Okay, so don't do that again, and now feel better and let it go. And so I can think of that person, or I can even turn it over to my dog or cat and watch what happens. If I turn my shame over to my cat, Cookie, I look at her and say, Cookie, here's my shame. Will you take this for me? And she goes, no problem. Bounce right off of her. She lives in the glory of a perfect being every moment of every day of her life. And so I can just hand my shame over to her and then just give it a try. Hand it over to somebody alive or dead, real or fictional, human or otherwise. Hand it over and see what happens if you don't feel lighter, because I feel lighter. And every time I do it, I feel lighter. And I went through recently a mock 12-step program. So it wasn't for addiction. It was for letting go of negative emotions that were holding everybody in the group back. And mine was codependency. And when I turned over codependency to a higher power, at that moment I was able to do it. I felt immediately lighter. And it was free. And it was better than 3 years of therapy. And it was easy. And I didn't have to relive anything. I just let it go. And when doing that, I felt better. And now, assuming you get that done, you let go of the shame, you give it over to somebody else and say, take this off of my plate. Now you have freed up energy in the body to do something good for yourself. Or just not having the shame and not reliving that emotion is good for you. But if you feel good, then go ahead and take a walk. Go around the block. And maybe, add some jog steps to it like I did today. And when you're leaving the house, you can tell whoever's in the house, or you just tell your furniture, hey, I'm going to go. And when I come back, I'm going to be a different person, because the whole time I'm out there, I'm letting go. I'm letting go of any shame that I'm feeling up. Anything comes up, I let it go, and I immediately replace it with a good feeling. And so by doing that, we are shutting down the cortisol production and increasing endorphins and the wonderful things that make us feel really good, like serotonin and dopamine. Now, those are the hormones we want flowing through our body, not cortisol. Because when cortisol is flowing through our body, this is how disease happens. This is how stress causes disease. It increases cortisol, and then cortisol says, we're in a war. We're about to be attacked. We have to either fight or run. What are we going to do? Let's be ready. So we're going to stop making muscle. We're going to stop digesting our food. We're going to stop healing the body. We're going to stop fighting off cancer cells. And we're not going to worry about if we catch an immune reaction right now, or an antibody, catch an infection right now. We're going to halt all building processes and start the breakdown process, because we're going to need energy to fight or to run. And, if you see a gazelle in the wilderness, they are going to see a tiger or a lion, and they are going to run, tiger, run. And the gazelle runs, and then, 5 or 10 minutes, it's gotten away from the predator, and its head is down and it's eating grass again. It's completely in the relaxed state all again. Is that what we're doing in our modern daily life? Are we just seeing a tiger, getting over it, and then going back to grazing and being at peace in nature? No, we're not. We leave for work in the morning, and traffic is bad. Somebody cuts us off, and we're going to be late for work. And so we're super stressed out, and we get to work, and things aren't done the way we wanted them to get done. Nothing's on time, and you're frustrated, like people aren't working fast enough, and they're not working on your timeline. And then you go to lunch, and it's busy, and the waiter gets your order wrong, and now you've had the lunch you didn't even want, and now you have to go back to work to meetings, and the meetings are boring, and you think, what am I doing with my life? And then you go home and the chores aren't done, and you start arguing with people. That is not a gazelle in nature. That is a human being in modern world being stressed out of our gourd, dumping cortisol into our body day in and day out, and our body says, we're not going to let go of any belly fat. We're not going to let go of any fat anywhere, because we're going to need it. Clearly, this is a war, and there's no food coming. We're not going to be able to eat. We have to be ready to fight and run, which means an empty stomach is a good idea. So let's not even get hungry. And let's just fight, and let's not get rid of any fat. So that's exactly how being stressed out makes us fat around the belly. Okay, cortisol increases abdominal fat. And abdominal fat is the most unhealthy fat there is. You can have subcutaneous fat on your arms. You've seen a lot of really big people who are perfectly metabolically healthy because they don't have visceral fat. Hard as a rock here, is solid muscle, but they might have fat around their arms and legs, and that subcutaneous fat is healthy, super healthy as a matter of fact. But visceral fat is not. So it's not just fat around our hips, it's fat inside of our organs, inside of our liver. That causes a lot of problems. And fat in and around all of our organs in there, and that causes inflammation, which causes more cortisol to be produced, and then causes more belly fat to be produced. You see how this is a vicious cycle of being stressed out, getting belly fat, feeling ashamed about our belly fat, and then not doing anything good, instead maybe having more pizza and ice cream, and then sitting on the couch, and then feeling shame and guilt and releasing more cortisol and getting more belly fat. Do you see that vicious cycle? It explains why we are where we are as an American population, is that we are obese, we are overweight, we are undernourished, overfed and undernourished. We're not getting nutrients, we're just getting calories. And we are stressed out of our mind. So how do we get off of that carousel and heal the body truly? Well, we let go of stuff as it comes up. So if you notice an emotion of shame coming up today, I want you to turn it over to whatever power you want to turn it over to, and then take a different action. Go for a walk, do some squats, do some countertop push-ups, do anything, move the body, dance, play some music, call a friend who makes you feel good. do something wonderful yourself that lowers lowers your cortisol and increases your chance of living a long and healthy life. Okay, I apologize that this video was so long. It was my first one. I'm just gonna post it. I don't care that it's not perfect. And then I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, take care.